Good morning, class. Remember last week when we read Wimberly Worried and we all closed our eyes while Miss Neal read? When we did that, we were creating mind movies to help us create our own understanding of what the story was about. That makes us great readers. Guess what, friends? I have another reading strategy that we can use to make us great readers. It is called the Velcro theory. This means that we are going to make connections to Harriet, You'll Drive Me Wild while Miss Neal reads it. I want you to hold up a C with your hand just like this whenever you hear something that you can connect with in the book. This will give us a better understanding of what the story is saying. Are we ready? Okay, Harriet, You'll Drive Me Wild by Marley Frazee. Harriet Harris was a pesky child. She didn't mean to be, she just was. One morning at breakfast, she knocked over her juice. A glass of juice, just like that. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, "Harriet, my darling child." "I'm sorry," said Harriet, and she was. At snack time, she dribbled jam all over her jeans, just like that. That reminds me of last week. I was drinking coffee in the morning, and I spilled it all over my jeans and I had to change. I bet most of you have spilled food on your clothes before. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, "Harriet, my darling child. Harriet, you'll drive me wild." "I'm sorry," said Harriet, and she was. Before lunch, when Harriet was painting a picture, she dripped paint onto the carpet, just like that. Can anyone think back to art last week when you guys were doing those awesome paintings? I wonder if any of you spilled paint on the paint room floor. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, "Harriet, my darling child. Harriet, you'll drive me wild. Harriet, sweetheart, what are we to do?" "I'm sorry," said Harriet, and she was. At lunch, Harriet slid off her chair and the tablecloth came with her, just like that. Her mother didn't like to yell, so instead she said, "Harriet, my darling child. Harriet, you'll drive me wild. Harriet, sweetheart, what are we to do?" "Harriet Harris, I'm talking to you." "I'm sorry," said Harriet, and she was. Later that afternoon, when Harriet was meant to be napping, she ripped open a pillow just like that. 1,000 feathers flew in every direction. There was a terrible silence. Uh-oh, has anyone's mommy ever gotten really silent before when you did something bad? Can anyone make a guess on what Harriet's mommy is going to do? Then Harriet's mother began to yell. She yelled and yelled and yelled. She looks mad, doesn't she? "I'm sorry," Harriet cried. "I'm really, really sorry." Her mother took a deep breath. "I know you are," she said, hugging Harriet tight. "I'm sorry, too. I shouldn't have yelled, and I wish I had it. But sometimes it happens, just like that." "Big mess," said Harriet. "A very big mess," said Harriet's mother. And she started to laugh. Sometimes big messes can be fun. Can you think of a time where you made a big mess and got to play with it? And they laughed and laughed and went on laughing as they picked up the feathers together. The end.